What do you want? Want to come in? Okay.
I literally just hit the record button, but okay.
Meow. Don't you meow at me.
Okay, hey guys, it's me again. My name is Marshemillow, and welcome to this video. Sorry, I normally have something planned for that, and today I just kind of didn't really have a plan. Well, I do have a plan. Of course, Sachi decided to wake up immediately and start trying to mess with my stuff, even though she was dead asleep like minutes ago. Hey guys, it's me again. My name is Marshemillow, and welcome to MatPat videos that I actually like? That's right. We are going to take an interesting trip into the past to see if we can find those videos that I actually watched all the way through, and I thought to myself, hey, that wasn't so bad. That was pretty cool, honestly. I liked that. Because here's the thing about MatPat, right? It's not like he's a bad channel. It's not like he conspires to make bad videos all the time. I would say that the game theorists and like the film theorists and all those people, MatPat, just in general, he's a person who basically just throws as many things as he can at the wall to see what sticks. Sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. Usually they don't. But every once in a while, you know the saying, right? A broken clock is still right twice a day. If you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually something is going to work, you know what I mean? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Alright. So, the first video that actually gave me the idea of making this video in the first place was a video where he talks about, let's see, I have it pulled up on my desktop. What is it called? It's called Game Theory. Portal's companion cube has a dark secret. It was a video that was posted 9 years ago. 11 million views. And what's interesting about this video is I remember watching it and really liking it because it seemed plausible. Like, okay, so the thing about this theory, I'm going to summarize it real quick, because it's not super long or complicated or anything. Unlike the atrocious Hollow Knight theory. Honestly, coming off of Hollow Knight, it's really easy to find a good video, you know? Because the Hollow Knight video was actually atrocious. It's the most atrocious thing I've ever seen in my life. Anything is better than that, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure all of MatPat's videos are better than that. Even better than the Sonic video. That's how bad it was. But anyways, so, the thing about the Portal video is that it's basically about how MatPat spends the whole time theorizing and basically providing evidence for the idea that the companion cubes are literally full of the dead bodies of previous test inmates.
Then in Portal 2, the one and only chamber in the entire game with a broken particle field just so happens to be the same one as the one and only chamber where you can interact with a companion cube? Coincidence? I think not.
The reason he thinks this has to do with the fact that in the first Portal game, for example, there are a lot of scrawled notes from Doug Ratman, who is a character in the comic. Like, there's a comic that links the Portal games together, and his ramblings are seen all over the first Portal game, and in some places, I believe, in the second Portal game, although he's not really mentioned in that one at all. And it comes from a lot of humanizing language that Doug Ratman and that GLaDOS even will use to describe the companion cube. And it also comes from the idea that the companion cube is never seen passing through a material emancipation grill. And I think that was actually MatPat's biggest piece of evidence in that video. It was really great. At the time, I hadn't played Portal yet, but I had played Portal 2, and I did go read the comic after watching the video. And it made a lot of sense, because I do recall that the companion cube is never in a position to go through the material emancipation grill. And he theorizes the reason for that is that people, test subjects, are allowed to go through those barriers, obviously. But cubes aren't. If you try to take a cube out of a test center, it's not going to let you take it out. So, if you were to take a companion cube, supposedly through a material emancipation grill, the box would vanish and leave the corpse behind. and it would basically reveal this whole conspiracy that the companion cubes were designed to carry corpses for easy disposal, because remember, in the first game you have to throw the companion cube into the thing, and it gives you an achievement called fratricide. And I remember really liking this theory a lot, and to be fair, it's probably one of MatPat's best theories he's ever made. Although, of course, I do still have some criticisms with it. I'm not, like, even the ones I like, I'm not just gonna let them off scot-free. You see, the problem with this theory is that it's only one more step on top of what's basically canon. It's already firmly established that the companion cube was designed to try to get the player attached to it. And especially if you're in a testing chamber with nobody else, if you're told that something is your friend, then you're far more likely to believe that it would be your friend if you're a lonely person rather than if you're a person with a lot of connections. So the companion cubes don't have to have dead bodies in them. That's not the point, you know? It's basically MatPat just told us the real game of the lore and then was like, oh, but also this. Like, imagine if it was also... Like, you know what I mean? It's interesting as a theory, but it's not necessarily a theory. He could have just made it a lore video and it would have been just as good. But yeah, that one's not too bad, and I think it's because he didn't have to make such a huge leap in order to make his point. Remember what I said about the material emancipation grill? That was actually not bad. MatPat tends to use a lot of very cherry-picked circumstantial evidence whenever he chooses not to just outright lie. You know, he'll go as far as he can by cherry-picking, and then he'll start to lie after that. That's what I found in the Hollow Knight video, anyway. I haven't seen a lot of his recent videos, but that's the impression I got. So yeah, the dead bodies in the companion cube video. Not bad. It was 9 years ago, though, so who knows. He's probably gotten way worse since then.
I propose to you that throughout Majora's Mask, Link is actually in Purgatory, the waiting room of the afterlife, and that the game represents his journey to accept his death and move on.
The idea is that after the events of Ocarina of Time, Link has literally died and is now in Purgatory and has to find his way out. And you'll see that, like, as you go through the game, you'll see the different characters going through all of the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. You see those as a theme throughout the game, like a recurring theme, and that it's even a game where, because of the moon falling, you have to continuously reset the timeline, so the entire game takes place over the course of the same 3 days. And to get to the final boss, you basically get to a point where you can finally move on from those 3 days and, like, save everyone from the moon. And here's the thing about that theory, right? I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty sound theory. The problem is that we already knew all of this. It's sort of the same idea with the Portal video. Like, he basically just stated the game's lore and then took it one step further by saying, oh, but what if Link himself is literally dead? There are a lot of people that die, and there are a lot of people who are afraid of dying, and a lot of people who are in danger of dying very soon, because obviously the moon is going to crash into them at any moment. You have to keep resetting the same 3 days over and over again, like you're stuck in Groundhog Day. It's like, yeah, obviously. Link doesn't have to be dead, you know? The themes of death follow throughout the entire game. I guess it makes sense to do it for shock value, but I feel like I'm so numb to this kind of thing that I'm just like, it's not really that shocking to add, oh, and also this character is dead. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good theory otherwise, you know. Just, we're off to a great start, aren't we? Basically, so far I've just been like, oh, these are videos where MatPat literally just doesn't lie the whole time? 5 stars! Alright, whatever.
How do you season up a human body to make it palatable to a bunch of unaware passengers? Well, the solution is a lot more straightforward than you might initially think. Science has actually proven that one of the best ways to mask the flavor of something is to liquefy it and then serve it through a straw. But it's not like everything that the people on the Axiom consume comes through a straw. I mean... Oh, that's it. I got nothing.
I remember I watched this one just because I was in the mood to get angry. Like, I don't know why, I really like being angry sometimes. It's like, it's refreshing, like when you've been depressed for so long. I've mentioned this before, but basically I watched the video and I remember being like, huh, that is not what I thought it was going to be. The title and the thumbnail are like extremely clickbaity. It's a somewhat more recent video. It's basically about how there's cannibalism in WALL-E. And when I saw that, I was obviously like, oh, it's gonna be the tired theory about how WALL-E is a cannibal because he cannibalizes the parts of his brethren. It doesn't fucking help that if you put parts from one computer into a different computer, that is literally called cannibalizing. That's like the technical term for it. This wasn't a theory MatPat invented, but basically the theory tried to capitalize on people's fear response. Like, they wanted to go for the shock factor. You know, there are so many theories that are like that, you know? Oh, like the Rugrats are actually all dead, and they're ghosts, and this one character is just trying to cope with their deaths. Like, you know what I mean? It's that kind of theory. Like... But then I watched the video and I realized it wasn't about that. The video made no claims that WALL-E was a cannibal. Instead, it was talking about the humans. The thing about the Starliners in WALL-E is that they weren't intended to be away for so long. They ended up being away for 700 years, and that's how long WALL-E was alone for. But they were only intended to be away for 5 years. So Otto would basically see that the ship's food supply was running low, and that over time, as people died of basically just of old age, really, at this point in history, because this takes place in the future where medical care, I assume, is really good, there would be a lot of dead bodies building up over hundreds of years. So Otto, being pragmatic and not understanding human ideas of morality, would probably start to cannibalize those dead bodies in order to keep the humans on the Axiom alive. And I understand what this was going for, and I would understand also if a lot of you would say it's a bad theory just because it's capitalizing on shock value. But to be honest, I'm not as horrified by cannibalism as some people seem to be. Like, obviously, if you're killing people to eat them, that's bad because it's murder. But if someone just happens to be there and you're starving to death, if you eat that person, I don't see why that's such a terrible thing. I don't know, I thought it was a pretty solid theory, and I wasn't super swayed by the shock value. I like theories that are more intellectual, you know what I mean? That's why I tend to like Swanky Box theories more than like MatPat theories and stuff, because he actually looks at the evidence. Maybe that's just the edgy atheist inside of me bursting forth. Let's move on.
I just ruined my favorite Pixar movie.
This video is already probably going to be pretty long, but there are a few more I want to address. First of all, he made a video about, so he made a theory about the video game industry being anti-LGBT. I didn't really get it when I first watched it because I was still a Mormon and I was still very much indoctrinated into the cult mindset. But obviously, I know I'm queer now, and I've been very involved in the community. So looking back on that video, I can say with absolute certainty, you didn't need 15 minutes to figure out that video games are anti-LGBT. Because society is anti-LGBT, especially during the time when video games were first invented, like the 70s and the 80s. The 80s was like when the AIDS crisis was going on. Like, it was serious stuff, you know? I feel like MatPat has a lot of videos like that, actually, where he kind of just states a fact and then presents it as if he came up with it. I do remember actually in his anti-LGBT video, he talked about Vivian from Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Vivian was intended to be a trans woman, and she was a trans woman in the Japanese version of the game, but then it was censored in the West, so we got a slightly different story. And I remember always feeling disappointed by that, because it could have been a really cool piece of representation, but we just never got it. On that note, about theories that are probably just stating the obvious, he talks about the actual logistics of taking an arrow to the knee. He talks about Star Fox and about how they label things wrong. Like, this was referenced in the Henry Stickmin collection, actually, if you'll recall. But yeah, the barrel roll in Star Fox is actually an aileron roll. A barrel roll refers to something else in real life. There's a video about how realistic Sonic is to a real hedgehog. Spoiler alert, not very. Here's the thing though. I really like when MatPat makes a boring video, because the boring videos are the ones that to me are more interesting, where he actually looks at real, hard evidence, and not just wild conjecture like he likes to do. I remember one of my favorite videos by MatPat has always been the one where he talks about the leap of faith in Assassin's Creed, and he concluded using math that gravity in the Assassin's Creed universe is literally wrong. According to the timing and stuff of how far the characters fall, he concluded that in Assassin's Creed 1, the gravity is as strong as it is on Jupiter, which, is interesting. I mean, looking back, he probably got the height of the building wrong. Like, I'm gonna call he probably, even though Assassin's Creed could literally be used as a map in some cases, he probably got the height of the building wrong, because he does that, you don't... He does that. Overall, I really like MatPat's videos, especially that are just about hard math. MatPat is really good at math, and it shows. Whenever he does math, that's when his videos really shine. Like one time when he talked about the hook shot.
Which means that in one use of the long shot, Link breaks all the bones in his hand upon pulling the trigger, then undergoes complete dislocation of his shoulder and probably a couple other random broken bones as he's torn from his standing position before he's finally given a 20G slap to the face due to acceleration, pulling apart his vertebra and damaging his retinas for life.
That was good! Do more of that! MatPat! That's what you're good at! Like, come on! He also made a fascinating video about Candy Crush being designed to be addictive. And I agree. I am not very proud of it, but in my deepest, darkest moments of depression, I would sometimes play games like Candy Crush that were like dumb Facebook games to try and like tide me over. And oh my god, guys, I don't know if you know this about people with ADHD, but it makes you extremely susceptible to addiction, to things like social media, and to really easy to play mobile games. Because you're always searching for the dopamine, you're chronically understimulated, and you're always looking for it in other places. So you find something that gives you easy dopamine and you can't get away from it because you finally feel like a person again, but you're just sitting on the couch playing Candy Crush all day and doing nothing else. And it really sucks. I honestly don't think that games should be designed to be that addictive. I think it's unethical, but I guess that's my opinion. I also remember he made a video about Watch Dogs that actually scared my mom. I remember hearing my mom talking about it and how it terrified her, because in his video where he talks about death by hacking, he claims that, like, first of all, obviously, if you have something in your body like a pacemaker, that can be hacked by outside sources. It can be, like, broken by things like an EMP, which is pretty terrifying. But even if you don't have anything like a pacemaker, surely you still walk on the ground. Our world is just full of all these different connections because we're so reliant on technology, you know, like power lines and stuff. It would be pretty easy to hijack stuff, apparently, and just, like, cause utter mayhem. I don't actually know how realistic that is, but I like how he actually stuck with things that are, well, not necessarily true, but believable, I guess. Oh yeah, and he made a video about Minecraft creepers, where he basically discussed what they are and how they work, and I thought that was an excellent video, too. He concluded that the Minecraft creepers are probably autonomous plants, and the reason they explode is because they want to throw their seeds onto you, or their spores, and they would grow really well on a dead body. But even if you don't die from the blast, you're still spreading the spores around as you're walking. So it's still beneficial. And I was just like, yeah, man, that's good. Like, MatPat is clearly capable of making good videos, so why doesn't he do it? Most of all, though, I think I just wanted to make this video to point out to people that I don't just hate MatPat. I'm not just a blind hater. I'm not hating on him just for the sake of it. I understand that there are some cases in which he's been needlessly harassed and bullied by everyone on the internet, and I don't think that's acceptable. Guys, listen to me. One-on-one. Look me in the eyes, okay? Harassment is never okay. Bullying is never justified. There is never a good reason to bully someone. Ever. So don't do it. I really hope I can get that across. Sick of people doing it. So yeah, not to be that kind of person who's just like, yeah, old MatPat was better, but like he kind of was, you know, he was more likely to do math, he was more likely to actually look at real evidence instead of throw wild conjectures around. And whether or not he makes a video about a certain subject is directly dependent on how many views that video gets. Which is fine by itself, I don't mind. Like, of course he wants people to watch his videos. But like, don't do it at the cost of making up a theory out of thin air. You know what I mean? Anyways, I think I've rambled long enough. It really does suck when I end up getting sick again, or when I end up in another loop, an ADHD loop of being stuck on social media, because like I said, I'm constantly seeking dopamine, and I can't get enough of it from normal sources sometimes, and I don't have any control over it, and it sucks. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I should probably go to bed. Oh, hi!
Hi, baby. You're so cute.